Hi, I'm Rasmita going to present on basics of web service. So let's think of a scenario where I have a website and I am interested in providing some sort of services like some ongoing sports score, some weather focused, some news like national level news, some regional news, and some personalized data of my registered users. So here I am talking about around 4 to 5 functionalities. So how just think how use this application will be and how much time and how much effort this will take if I will start writing code for each and every functionality of my own. And after developing this application, I need to maintain this application as this data will keep on changing. Just think how much human resource and how much fund I will need to maintain this application. On the other hand, all these things are getting done by various other sites. So what if I can use the same logic that they are using, and I will just create an UI for my application and show data there. Still I am providing a service to my end users, but with least effort and least time. And but the question here is how I can call business logic of some other application. For scenarios of this sort, we have techniques like web service, and today we are going to discuss on this service. So here is something about me, and our agenda during this session will be to know what a web service is actually. Then we will go for benefits of a web service. Then we will discuss on the web service components. Then I will create a web service in ASP.NET using Visual Studio. Then when we create a ASP.NET web service using Visual Studio, then the Visual Studio creates a template for us. So we will analyze the template generated by Visual Studio for us. Then we will test the web service. Then I will create a demo application, and I will consume that application from a client, and I will call that web service from my client application's client script as well. Then we will discuss how a web service actually works. And what a web service is. A web service is a piece of software that is hosted somewhere on the internet or network, you can say, that provides some kind of service that that another web application or a web applications can take advantage of. So W3C defines web service as a software system designed to support interoperable machine-to-machine interaction over the network. So now let's see benefits of a web service. So first one is web service is cross-platform. By cross-platform, I mean the service designed in a particular language can be consumed in a client application written in some different language. Let's say I have a service in ASP.NET, but I have a client that uses Java for Java. So for this scenario, I don't need to write a web service in Java again, so that my Java client can also consume my web service written in ASP.NET. So here code reusability of my service increased. Next thing is loosely coupled. Web service is loosely coupled to its client applications. Let's say I have a web service and I have 100 clients consuming my service. Now I suddenly need to improvise my web service. I need to add some more functionalities to my web service. Then I can easily do that without affecting my client application. I can just add new functionalities to my web service, and my client will not get affected. Next thing is stateless. Web service is basically stateless. Web service uses HTTP protocol, and which itself is stateless. The connection between a client application and a web service starts with the client application sending some request to my web service. Then web service process the request, generates some response, sends that response back to client. There the connection between my client application and web service terminates. So there is no open connection, open and idle connection between a service and application. So what happens here, the scalability of my service increases. So I can handle more and more requests as there is no open and idle request to my open and idle connection to my web service. Next thing is, web service is firewall friendly. uh, Web service uses HTTP protocol, as I have already said, and HTTP can easily pass through firewall. So I don't need to make any extra configuration for my web service requests to pass through firewall. So that's why web service is firewall friendly. Next thing is distributed computing. So this scenario that I said at the beginning, there I was talking about 4 to 5 functionalities. So if I will not use web services, and I will write code for all functionalities, and I will deploy all those in a particular server, then the overload on the server will be very huge, very high. But what if I am using web service for each and every functionality? So so in this case, what will happen is my actual business logic will run in several servers, not on a particular server. So overhead on my server reduced. Next, it is providing security also. If you have your business logic distributed in several servers, not on a particular server. Web services having many other advantages also, but we can't discuss them now here. Now let's see the components of a web service. Now I have a web service, and I'm a client application, and I want to consume the web service. To consume a web service, first I need to know is where it is located, where it is hosted actually. So for this we have two techniques. One is discovery file or disco file we say, another is UDDI directory. So disco file is something where a web service providing company lists out reference to its WSDL document of the services that it is providing. So what a client application need to do is, a client application just needs to request that disco file, and uh, discover the service that it is interested in consuming, then it can consume that. But the limitation here is, I should know my service providing company, then only I can consume its disco file. Else how can I consume the disco file? How can I know which disco file that service is there? So to avoid this limitation, we have another technique like UDDI directory. UDDI is short for Universal Description, Discovery and Integration. So UDDI is a centralized directory where all the web service providing companies list out the references to the WSDL document of the services that they are providing. So what a client application need to do is, it just need to browse through the UDDI and find out the service that it is interested in consuming, then consume that. A particular company can have its own UDDI also, that if it wants to make them as a proprietary, so it can do, or a set of companies can have their own UDDI. Depends on their choice. Next thing is, I located my web service. I found out where it actually hosted. Next thing is how I will use that web service. I need to know what are the functionalities that the web service is providing, or how I will consume that, and what I will get in response from that. So instead I need a documentation for that web service, and that documentation for a web service is provided by WSDL document, or we say WSDL document. WSDL is short for Web Service Description Language. This is an XML based language. As I said, web service is cross platform, so we need to have something in common that can be understood by several technologies. So that common thing here is XML. A WSDL document lists out the functionalities that a service provides, the data types that are getting used, the protocols that can be used to consume a service, etc. and etc. All about a web service is listed in a WSDL document, and we will see how this is done. Now I read the documentation and I know what are the functionalities provided by web service. Now I need to make a request, and the request should have some particular format, and I will get some response from web service, and that response will also have some particular format, and that particular format is SOAP, so simple object access protocol. So this is again a XML schema that is having its own structure, an envelope, a body, a header, with following which structure you need to make request and you will get response from the web service. Next thing is we need to transfer, we need to communicate with a web service and a web application. Then they will need a protocol, and that protocol we have is HTTP. So now let's create a web service. So I have Visual Studio open here, and now I'm creating a project. So you can go by here from file, new project, file, new project. So the language that I'm going to use is Visual C#. So this is C#. Now I have web. Then here my framework is .NET Framework 3.5. Then I am selecting web service application. If you are using .NET Framework 4, then you need to create a web forms application or empty web form application. Then we need to add a web service there. But I am using .NET Framework 3.5, and it is asking for a name. So this name will appear as a namespace for your service as usual in ASP.NET that is getting done. So let me give a relevant name. My web service I am giving, or okay, my web service, and I'm having it here in a location I specified, web services. Okay, so now Visual Studio is creating a template for us, and we will analyze that template, what is part is doing here. So Visual Studio imported several namespaces for us that it is doing generally whenever we create a ASP.NET application. Next is another special namespace that it imported is system.web.services, as it's a web service, so it imported this also. Now the same project name appeared as a namespace here. Now I have a attribute web service here. So this web service indicates that in this class, in this project, which is a service, if you want a class to be exposed as a web service, you need to decorate it with web service attribute. I can have several other classes in the same piece, but I don't want to use them. I don't want my client application to consume them. Then I don't need to decorate them with web service. But the class that I am interested in exposing to my client application should be decorated with web service attribute. Now here I have a namespace, property called namespace equal to something. So this is totally a XML based property, and this is just to uniquely identify your service, nothing to do with ASP.NET or nothing to do with web service. This is totally a XML based property. So what can happen is I am a client application, and I may consume several web services, and there a scenario may occur that the name of two web services are the same. So there .NET will get confused, and then things will not work out. So to make your web service unique, you need to give a namespace property. And though it seems like an URI, but it's actually not pointing to anywhere. This is simply a name, and this is generally recommended to change this namespace that we just created for us before exposing it to your client. So you can make it something somehow unique And to make it unique, a web service providing company can give its own name and append it with the service name to make it totally unique. Next attribute that I am having is web service binding. So, and this is having a property confirms to WSI profiles dot basic profile 1 underscore 1. This WSI profile dot basic profile 1 underscore 1 is basically a standard, and this indicates the standard that your service is actually following. If your web service is not following this standard, then it will throw a compilation error, and if you don't want to get that compilation error, you can simply remove it. You can simply remove this attribute, or you can make it WSI profiles that none also. Next is another attribute that I have is system.component model.toolbox item and set as false. So if you don't want your service to be added as a custom tool your toolbox, then you have to make this decorate it like this. Then this is the service that we are actually talking about, and this service is importing from a class called web service. And by importing it from web service, what it is doing is it is getting direct access to the ASP.NET intrinsic object. If you don't want to use those intrinsic object, then you don't need to inherit it from web service class. Next is a method hello world that is decorated with web method. Same thing, if you want a method to be exposed to your client application, then you have to decorate it web method, and it should be public. It may happen that you are having some other methods inside this class, but you are consuming them internally in your service only, and you don't want your methods to be exposed to your client, then you don't need to decorate them with web method. And next here I skipped one attribute. This is script service. So if you want your service to be consumed from your client applications Ajax, then you need to decorate it with your script service attribute. So this is the all about this template. Now let's see its markup. So this markup is totally a blank page, just having a web service directive tag. So this web service directive tag is indicating the ASP.NET that this is a SMX. This SMX page is actually XML based web service, and it is having its own implementation. There is some property language equal to C#. As I am using C#, so this language is C#, the language in which your service is written. Next is code behind. This is nothing to do with your ASP.NET or web service. This is totally a Visual Studio property that is there to match your ASMX page with its code behind page. Next is a class. Class is having a fully qualified name of your web service. Fully qualified name of your web service. See this my web service dot service one. My web service dot service one. If I change that this name, let's make it my service. Then let's see what happens over here. So it became red. This is a error. So my service. This indicates the entry point of your web service. So this indicates the class that is exposed as a web service. An ASMX page can expose only one web service. If you want to expose multiple web service, then you need to create multiple ASMX pages. Next is, now let's test it how it looks. So this is the test page, service1.smx page, and this is having the same thing that I was talking about, the tempuri.org, that namespace. So it is saying here to make it unique, nothing else. And this is the method that is exposed as a web method. And see, this method is having only, this test page is having only one invoke button, nothing else. as my hello world method is not taking any parameter. This is blank, this is not taking any parameters, so this is giving just me a invoke button, nothing else. If my service will take input parameters, then it will give respective text boxes for it. I will show you how. And see the URL, the URL is same asmx space and appended with this question mark op equal to hello world. Op is short for operation. Now let's go back, and here it is having the service description. This is the WSDL document I was talking about. This is the documentation for your web service. It is having several elements, and we will go through this in the demo. There I can explain it in a better manner. So this is having these main properties, and see the URL, just this WSDL is appended to that asmx page, nothing else. Now the thing is, I did not write the code for this thing. Then from where this test phase got generated? The answer is ASP.NET has this default. This is actually a default WSDL help generator that is over here. C drive, this Windows, Microsoft.NET, Framework 64, this folder, then here is the config, and this is that. So if you want this page to look somehow different, or you want to give some additional information to your client over here, then you can copy this from here, or you can just go to this and paste in the root directory of your project. You can add this page. So this is running, okay. So add this, add existing item, then I will browse through that. There is Microsoft.NET, Framework 64, B4.0, etc. config, then this page, and I will rename this to my WSDL help generator. Okay, so I added this. Okay, I added this, and let me rename it over here. Rename it is as my WSDL help generator. Okay, and now in the web config file you need to make a change, and I will show you the change. Okay, so I will show you the change. Yeah, so you need to add this element under system.web tag. So let me do this. System.web is here, so let me add this after here, and this is the name my WSDL help generator.spx. okay, control C and paste it here, control P, C, and let me make some change in the my WSDL help generator so that I can show you how things changed. See, here it is C#, Visual Basic and C++, and I will change that to something else, and that will appear. So search for C#, okay, and the current document on this, search for C#, okay, C#, I'm writing C# for structure, I say. So structure I added here. Now let's search for, what was that, Visual Basic, C++. Let me search for C++. Okay, C++. Here also I added the same structure, and now I will reload this C# and C++. Now I have C# structure, C++ structure, so this got affected. So if you want to show something, some additional information in your test piece or visual document, then you can do that here like this. Now let's go for a demo application, and I have an application ready. I don't want to waste your time by typing all these things, so I have a demo application already ready over here. So this is my SMX, this is my service. So this is my service, and I am going to do a simple arithmetic addition operation, nothing else. And here I imported this namespace, and this is the project name, and this is the namespace that I am giving to make it unique. So you can give anything, it depends on you. So the same thing, the toolbox item false, and web service binding, let me make it basic profile 1_1, and script service, as I want to consume my service from client applications client script, so I made this as well. So now let's build it, and I have hosted this application in IS, so let's browse through it. So see, so this is the operation that is exposed by my method. The name of the method is sum, so I got that sum there, and this is the visual document. Let's go through this sum. As I was telling, if a method will consume parameters, then it will give respective text boxes for that. So it is giving, so first number I am giving a number, and second number I am giving another number. So let's invoke it. So answer here is 58. So the response came in a XML format, and this is this format with which I can request, I can make a SOAP 1.1 request, and this is the response that I will get if I make a request in SOP 1.1 format, and this is for 1.1 request format, and this is 1.2 response format, and this is HTTP post request format and HTTP post response format. This is what I got here, the same format, you can see. Now also let's go back and see the service description of the visual document. A visual document has several main elements, and those elements are this type and the message and the port type, then the binding, then the service. These are the main elements that we have in a visual document. This type section specifies the web service data types that are getting used. So this is the method name, and this is the data type data type. This is the parameter name. So let me show you. This is the parameter name first and second, and here also I have this parameter name first and second. Let me close these things here, creating confusion. So first and second, and the data type is int and int over here. This is the minimum occurrence of this parameter in this method. This is the maximum occurrence of this parameter in this method, and same, this is the data. This type section defines the web service data types. Next is the message. This details out the request and response messages used to communicate with a service. What happens is, when you send a request to a web service, .NET sends a message and gets a response message from the service. So this is the message name, and this is the response message name. Next element we have is port type. So it provides the catalog of the functionalities provided via web service. The functionalities that are provided here is sum, and this is the input, and this is the output, sum SOAP in, sum SOAP out. So this describes the method, the functionalities with the element operation. And next is binding. This is describing the communication protocols, the communication protocols and the URL to the operations. So you can see here, URL to the operations, the communication protocols that can be used, SOP. Now next is binding. That was, this is SOP 1.1 format, and this is SOP 1.2 format. So SOP 1.1 is just SOP, but SOP 1.2 is SOP 1.2. Next is the service. This defines the entry points into web service, and this it is having a port element that is giving the location of your web service, the URI of your web service. So this is the basics of the WSDL document. Now let's go through the demo application again. So in ASP.NET we have something called method overloading. Let's use that here. Let me uncomment this and use this here. So this is sum of integers, and this is sum of floats, which is generally supported by ASP.NET. Let's see, when I am doing this, then what happens. So go back, and so I am getting compilation error. So this is saying use the message name property of the web method custom attribute to specify unique message names for the methods. So let me give unique message names. So I am giving a property message name equal to, let's say, sum of ints, and here I am giving another property like message name equal to like sum of floats. Fine, sum of floats. So I did what it was prompted. So now let's see what happens. Here I am again getting compilation error that I was talking about, the basic profile 1_1 there. So what it's saying actually is method overloading is not supported in the standard WSI profile dot basic profiles 1_1. So to avoid this, what I can do is I can confirm this standard to none. This is not confirming to anything. So let me check here. So I got, now this is listing the methods that I have. This is sum of floats and sum of ints that I have, and this is saying something about the in config also you can do this. So I don't need it, leave it. Now another approach here is you can totally remove this without affecting, it will not affect. Okay, so I remove it, and see this is still working. However, this was just for demo purpose and I don't need it, so I am commenting it out. I am removing this message from here also. I don't need these things. Okay, so F6 build application. Now let's see again whether it's working fine or not. Yeah, it's working fine. Now let's consume this application from a client application. So this is my solution explorer, and here I have a method. See, this is the demo web service, this is my web service, and this is the consumer that I have already created. So to consume a web application, first you need to add a reference, and let me show you how to add a reference, though I have already added a reference. So go right click on your project and go to add service references. Here you can directly give this URL, paste it directly over here and click for go. So this is the service name that is exposed, and this is the method that is exposed. So you can give a namespace name over here for your service in your for the web service in your application, or you can go to this advanced directory. So now click on add web references. Now you can browse through. See, I was talking about that browse UDDI server on the local network, web service on the local machine, web service in this solution. So web service on the local machine, or you can type this URL over here. So depends on your choice. So I have already added a web reference, so I was just showing how to add a web reference. So give a name for this, and here I have given while adding I gave this name, mind demo service reference. Okay, so cancel it out. Now let's go through this mind demo service reference. So this is my demo service reference, and this is my service SOAP client. This is metadata of that that references class. So in this object browser, this is listing that method. I have some int in that web service. So now this is my client application, this default .aspx.cs, and I imported this namespace as using same as this one. This is the namespace that I imported. I imported this namespace here. Then on a button click I need to find some. So let's view the markup here. What I have is a first number and a text box for it, and then the second number text box for it, and a button. On click of which I will show some. I will just do a addition operation and show the response. Now let's see how it works. So I have hosted this as well in IIS. So let's browse it. Okay, so I'm passing some numbers. So I got the sum here. So this is how you can add reference to a web service, and you can consume it from your application. Let's go through the code here. What I'm doing, on click of this I call this add numbers, and I got those two numbers. I converted them from string to integer. Now I'm passing this, and this is the proxy class that I created over here. My service SOAP client, same as this, my service SOAP client, this my service SOAP client. Okay, now I just called this some method of this web service. Then I passing to integer values over here, and on the div I am showing this. So this is working. Now let's call it from my client applications client script. So I have another application for this in this same solution, and name of this application web application to consume from client script. So this is the web application to consume from my client script. Okay, this is the piece of that application. Now I will show how to consume by making HTTP post request, and how to consume by making a SOAP request. Okay, so now first let's go for the HTTP post request. The same thing that I'm doing here. Here also I have a text box for two text boxes for taking two numbers. Then I have an type button, and on click of which I am calculating sum of two numbers. So here also you need to add reference to your to a web service, and the way that you will do is something of this sort. You need to add this thing, and this is the path is the your web service path, where it exits the path of your SMX file. So you need to add ASP colon script manager control, then services, Then from that you need to add a service reference with path attribute pointing to your web service SMX file. Okay, so let's see how to know whether this is added in your application or not. I have hosted this application, so let's browse this application. Okay, I browsed it. Now let's view this piece source. Let's view its piece source. See, so when you add a service reference from your client script using ASP colon script references, this is adding your service reference this is adding inline service reference. So as my debug attribute in web config is true, so it's coming just debug, else it will come just js. So now let's see what is there. So if this space comes, then it confirms that you have added service reference successfully. Now let's see the demo. I don't need this thing, I don't need the base resource also, I just need this demo to show you. So let me make 10 and I am passing a number, let's say 50, and I am adding it. Okay, so I got response with both using post and soap. So I will go through this code to see how it's getting done. For post, I am simply making a ajax request, and I am provide this type is post and the URL of the service, that ASMX page, and the method that I am invoking, and the data is the data that you have to pass to your web service, and this is the attributes of first and second in my web service that some method is taking. So I'm having two numbers, some first num and second num. I pass it, and data type is what you are passing to your web service. So, and the important thing over here is this property cross domain equal to true. As you are making cross domain request, so you have to make this cross domain too. This is the only thing over here, and other thing as usual things. Next, on success callback, I am doing this. I have a div, and I am showing there this response whatever I am getting. So this is how I am making a HTTP post request. Next is how I am making a HTTP SOAP request. So now let's go through that test page. Okay, this is the test page. This is providing the SOAP structure over here. So you just need to copy this thing and paste it over here. Paste it as a SOAP message, and just you need to replace. And you just need to replace this int values with the respective values that you want to pass. These are the data types that it is expecting, and these are the parameter names. So here you need to pass the values, nothing else. And the response will come with in a value some result. This child element is some result, and you will get a int in this some result child element. So just you need to copy this and replace its values in the client script. So I have copied this, and I have just copied this and replaced this int values with respective values that I want to pass over. Then I'm making same ajax request, and in the data I am passing this SOAP message. I am passing here, and on complete of this I'm calling a callback method. This is show result, and the callback response will come, the response from a web service will come in this format. It will have a status, and it will have XML HTTP request. This XML HTTP request will contain actual data, and the status will contain the status of your request, whether it succeeded, failed, error occurred, something. So from in this you have this response XML find this, then you find the some result that is over here. I show you um, some result. This will come like this, some result. So you need to find this sum result, and this sum result is actually having your value, and so the SOAP response I'm getting here in this value, and I am just pasting that in a diff. So this is how to make a SOAP request from your client application. This is pretty simple. Everything is there in the visitor document. You just need to copy and paste things, and that's it. That's how you can call from client applications client script. Now let's go back to our slides and see the this is what I have already explained, the how to create a ASP.NET web service. Then I explained the template. Yes, I did this. I did this also. Oh, I forgot this. So this is the this thing is the name of the service that you are exposing. Next is the visitor document. I explained it, and the default WSDL help generator that I was talking about, and I talked on this also. So next thing is a demo. We did this. Now let's see how a web service actually works. So what happens is, first a client application gives browses through the UDDI registry that I told you at the beginning in the web service component section. A client application need to browse through the UDDI directory, find the web service that it is actually interested in consuming. So client application just located the UDDI directory, and from the UDDI directory it will get reference to the WSDL document. So it got this reference to this document. Then from this document a client will get idea on the service, on the functionalities that the service is providing. So it got this. Then client will access this WSDL document to get idea on this. Now client has everything that it needs, so it can make request to a web service, and the web service will actually process the request and send back the response, and then the connection terminated. So this is all about the basics of a web service, and thanks for listening me. And these are the references that I have followed. This thing is totally really very helpful things, and you will get more and more idea on this. So you can connect us to Mindfire as from connect us. Thank you. That's all for